All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
All right, welcome everyone to our budget meeting for 2026. We're going to go over with some of the department heads our capital and the budgets for their department. And we were going to start off tonight, I think, with Simon and the wastewater, water and streets. So you can
What
come-
page?
Streets is going to start on page 16.
That on the new budget?
Yes.
15, okay.
I think as most of our department heads, the budgets are relatively stable from last year, and we've all kind of tightened our belts a little bit because we don't know what's going to happen with the taxes and everything that's going on. And I think, Simon, what you got any extras or anything?
So the only thing I have is in the capital improvement or capital purchases, I guess. I need to replace the F-450 that we have, that diesel F-450. It's a 2004 model with the new unit. So I put in money to buy a new F-550 for that with a new plow and spreader. And I also put in some barricades for the entertainment district downstairs and the street closures that we have. They're like kind of crash barricades that the city of Fayetteville uses. They roll up to wherever they want to block the roads, and they kind of chain together, and it creates a more open look where we don't have our dump trucks just sitting in the middle of the road. Also have a hydro excavation trailer in the budget under water and sewer, and one pickup truck.
What was the one before the pickup truck? What was that?
Hydro excavation trailer.
What is that?
It's so if you've seen Barrows out here working on the gas lines, they have a white trailer or a yellow trailer, Vermeer trailer. What it uses is pressurized water, like a pressure washer. You shoot the soil, and then it has a vacuum to suck it out. It's just, we have so many utility conflicts here in the city. When we have water leaks, a lot of times this is problematic because we'll have a gas line sitting next to it or a fiber optic line sitting next to it. So this is a way that we could excavate around what we need to do without
Right.
harming somebody else's
Right, I got you.
utilities.
Yep.
I didn't even know we had one.
We don't have one,
We don't have one yet.
but we will if we approve the budget. So
Okay.
Michael, what page is capital on?
The capital is on page 17 of 33. It's the 10-00-5800 capital expenditures. One thing to keep in mind also about our street fund is our street fund isn't an enterprise fund. It works by itself. It has revenue and expenditures, and it does have a healthy bank account. So on our capital expenditures from there, on 16 of 33, you'll see a beginning fund balance, which is 10-00-4040. We put in the amount that we're going to spend on capital expenditures in there so that we can show that it's coming out of cash that we already have.
And you'll also see a large increase in the employee wages and the benefits associated with that under street department because we've added 2 street department employees over the course of the last year. So this is just to take
What's
care of
the
them.
starting pay now?
Generally, roughly around 18 an hour.
Think that's enough?
Well, so I've been, we do a 90-day kind of probationary period with 5% raise after that. And generally the ones that aren't going to last, they pretty much leave within that 90 days. But the good ones that we want to keep, of course, they get their 5% raise. And then we also have the cost of living increase coming later down the pike. So it helps out.
You haven't lost many this year?
No, I don't have a lot of turnover. The only turnover that I generally see is either that third position at the sewer plant which this last time I actually promoted the employee out there to the assistant director position, deputy director. But aside from that, I really don't have a whole lot of turnover. I mean, it's been really stable over there in Public Works.
Cool.
You know, also remember too that we not only, I mean, the salary may, you know, seem a little low, but they also get 100% of the insurance is paid. So,
That's a good way to keep people, but if, you know, if they got a family to feed and they're young and they're healthy, it's kind of hard to get them to take a job that doesn't feed the family. That's why we got a bunch of old guys.
So do you want to go to water and sewer now? Is that,
Sure. Water and sewer is going to start on page 24. That's going to be your revenue for water and sewer.
sales?
Your capital expenditures for water and sewer is going to be on page 26, capital expenditures of $67,500 for the water department. And then on page 27, $127,500 for the sewer department. I think that's your trailer, isn't it? The 127?
Yes.
That's the trailer.
We didn't raise the rate for out there on Mundell Road, Grassy Knob.
No, well, we do. We raise their rates when we get a raise from Carol Boone, is whenever we raise the amount that we sell the Grassy Knob. So we'll get a increase from them in January. So we have sent our 30-day notification. I'll have to check on that for sure because it's supposed to go out at the 1st of December. I'll check with Tabby. But we send them a 30-day notification letting them know that as Carol Boone's rates go up, our rates are going to go up.
Now, we have no infrastructure expense there, correct?
That's
No.
correct.
It's just,
So are we just a pass-through? Do we make any profit off that, or is it?
make a small amount of profit off of that. I'd have to go back and look at the actual rates of what we charge them.
Well, I mean,
but
it's
not-
really an
Yeah.
insignificant number. That,
Well, it's whatever this sales is here, that's what we make off of them a year on that, less what that water costs us.
What percentage of increase do we get on the water?
It's going to be a 5 cent per 1,000 gallon increase. So I don't know what that equates to. I'm not too sure. I don't even know what our current rate is. Is it 220?
5 cents per 1,000 gallons?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
That's how much it's going to go up, is 5 cents per 1,000 gallon.
5 cents or 5%?
5 cents.
5 cents. They didn't do percentage for some reason. They just did 5 cents.
That'd be 0.05%.
Sounds like a lot.
Hell, not,
No,
it wouldn't be really correct. It's probably like a 2 or 3% increase, I
Right.
would imagine.
Yeah. What, the 1,000 gallon?
If you go to page 26 of 33, about midway down, you'll see the Carol Boone water purchase. This year, we're going to come in at right around the 520 of what it cost us to purchase the water from them, and we've raised it to 550 for next year with that increase.
That's allowing for that increase.
Yes, sir.
And we have to have a rate study every year?
I
No.
just saw that. No, that needs to come out.
Okay.
That will come out. That should have been taken out. It was taken out of sewer, it just wasn't, for some reason it didn't get taken out of water. Also on page 28, you'll see that we've added the ARNC loan payment, principal and interest, for the $100,000 that we received this year from them. That's going to be our annual amortization there. And it's going to cost us about $7,900 a year, and it's a monthly payment.
You talk to them.
What's that? Yeah, finals this week.
So if water and sewer, if everything according to Hoyle, that's about 480,000 revenue over expense.
If you'll go to page 28, you'll see that I've put it down there. Water, we're looking at a revenue of 1.6, an expenditure of 1.3 for an income of 320,000.
Yeah, I saw that.
And sewer, 1.2, 1.6 for 41,000. So you're looking at about a $360,000 profit.
Oh, I must have did something wrong because I got 160 off the water department.
Bottom of 28.
Well, yeah, but at the bottom of 26, you got 160,000 net. No, that's,
So if you go to page 24, this is your first page, that's your revenue off of the water, 1,663,200. And then the expenses are on page.
26.
Yep, 1,342,800. And then for,
160 net there, right?
no, it's 320.
What am I-
1,600.
No, that's, huh?
$1,663,200 in revenue.
No, I understand that. I see what the revenue is, and I see what the expense is for the water. But then it shows here that you've got, let's see, that's an increase of 160,000 in revenue over last year. Or expenses, I mean. Let's see. Yeah, that's 160.
That's expenses.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that is a negative number there. Expenses were that. No. Now I'm getting myself confused. 2, 8.
A lot of numbers.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Hopefully you didn't cover this already, but in the revenue side on water, is this amount incorporating the rate increases as scheduled?
Yes.
Okay.
That does include the rate increase that we did recently of the 25% and then the 8% that goes into effect in January.
Gotcha.
I like the breakdown by the departments, but I was kind of hoping for an overall, how much money,
A
and how
summary.
much money you based on the budget for like the total amount. And every department's here and stuff, but I was just wondering, what was the city's overall budget last year? And what did you think it was going to be for the next coming year?
Okay.
Well, what I'm looking at here is I take the water sales, or the water department income, $1,663,000, and then I subtract the water department expenses of $1,342,000, and I come up with 300 difference. You know what I mean?
32400.
About 324, yeah.
And then Sue's 41,165.
So that's 300 ahead.
Right.
And then the sewer at 2877.
No,
No,
you're taking the wrong number.
I am.
Yep. So the page 24, the 1663 is what the water's going to make. Sewer is going to make $1,208,350 for a total revenue of 2.877 for
Was
the
I
entire
looking
water
at-
department.
Was I looking at a combined number? Oh, that's-
Simon, what do you
that's
think
total
of
revenue.
those,
Okay, that's
these
total revenue.
expenditures for next year on water and sewer? Like, is that a comfortable number for you?
Yeah, so actually I cut quite a bit out of the budget to try to stay flat, full transparency, and we cut some out of our operations and we ended up putting it back in there because we had the revenue to kind of support what we're doing. I'd prefer to leave a little bit extra in there because right now I'm working on some projects with our underground infrastructure. And if we also have the water towers that are going to be inspected here pretty soon and different types of things. So having a little bit of a savings account would be fantastic in the water sewer department.
Oh, I'm sure.
So-
I was just wondering if it is enough. That's all.
Yeah. So Michael kind of took some of those numbers that I dropped down and brought them back up to what I did this year for those numbers to try to bring them back up. And that way we're comfortable in our operations for the year.
Yeah.
And then plus we still have some going into reserves. So it'll build up some reserve funds that we can use on some of these capital improvement projects we got coming up.
Cool.
Okay, I see it. I got it. I put the pages together now.
Simon, I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about the increase in the salaries and wages on both the water and the wastewater side?
So I could speak more about the street side, I think. The street side, we added a couple of employees that are just streets that we have now that have been doing street painting and that kind of work. But on the water and sewer side, they're pretty much due to raises. I mean, we've not had a lot of replacement of people and that kind of stuff. So those increases would just be due to raises. We also bumped up the salaries and took up a lot of the employees up to a higher level in public works and trying to meet the average salary around here for the employees. So we did do an increase on salaries not too long ago, and then we'll have another 5% at the first of the year pending council approval.
So the salaries and wages, let's say for the water department, is projected to increase this year by $27,500, and that's 5%. You're saying that's just cost of living increases, or?
So what we have done in every one of these departments, you will see that the salaries we have increased by 5%, 3% being the cost of living raise and 2% being a merit raise. Then that will be up to the department head based upon the performance of the employee on that 2%. One of the things that's kind of unique about Simon's salaries is you can't really take what we projected last year and just go up 5%. The way his employees are is he has some employees who are just work under the streets. He has some that just work at the wastewater treatment plant. He has some that work in water and wastewater. He has some that work in all three. So we have to charge those out to each one of the departments based upon where they work. Throughout the year, some may change, so that kind of throws salaries off sometimes. Sometimes he'll lose somebody that was all three departments, and he'll hire somebody that's only in one department or two departments. So their salary is really fluid in that it can bump around a lot and not be like just show a percentage increase, because his salary out of all the departments kind of has the most vulnerable, the parts of it. But what we do with every department is I build a spreadsheet on every department with all of their employees in it. We take what they're currently making, what their raise is, what all of their benefits are costing us, and then we use that to come up with how much the departments need for their salaries. So we also, like if in like Billy's, if he has an open police person, I put that in there. If he has an open dispatch, we put that in there. So we try to whittle that down so that we can get the cost of how many employees he has for the insurance, the taxes, various things like that, because some departments are calculated different than other departments.
Sure.
So we do a pretty extensive background data, whatever, on each one of these salary categories to come up with these numbers.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks for the very thorough explanation on that. Yeah. And I had kind of just a general question for you, kind of thinking forward to the next year. Are there any specific kind of directions or goals that you are kind of aiming for your departments, or you want to talk about that? I would love to hear it.
So of course, our number one, right now, my goal is actually we've developed a flushing procedure on the sewer lines. So we're going to have the guys go out and start doing some preventative maintenance on the sewer collection system itself. But through that process, we're going to collect data for our GIS system, and then also kind of inventory what we have in our system versus what we actually have out in the field. Inspect all of our manholes and all that stuff and get all that information put in our GIS system. So I've been working on the GIS. I've got my laptop here because we're putting the ArcGIS Pro on my laptop, and I'm waiting on IT to get in there to do that. So, but trying to build that data. I'm also working with the engineering firm, Performance Services, I believe is the name of it, and they look for grants for infrastructure work, and I'm trying to collect as much data as I can because it'll be a lot cheaper on us in the long run versus having to hire engineers to come out and do that. And that's just kind of what I'm working on for this year mostly, is just trying to make sure we get all our ducks in a row as far as future capital improvement projects, and prioritization of those projects.
I'm really excited to hear you talk about gathering data, because my understanding and training on the public administration side is that evidence-based, data-based decision-making is really important. So it's exciting to hear that that's a goal for you moving into next year. And I'm curious if you could, I don't know if everyone knows what GIS is, but for like our community kind of tuning in, could you explain GIS and how that helps your department?
Yeah, so I use GIS, and then Cassie over in planning uses GIS as well. She uses it for the planning side of things. I use it for the infrastructure side of things. So we have water and wastewater maps that were produced back in the late 90s that are in the GIS format. I guess it was a couple of years ago we purchased the ability to be able to use GIS, and we pay a recurring annual fee for that. And this year, I believe, is the first year where we had the ArcGIS Pro, which is a desktop version of it. I have it on my desktop at the work, and I'm getting it on my laptop here sometime today, hopefully. And anyways, so when you go into the GIS system and look at the water and wastewater infrastructure, it has the maps. You can see where the manholes are and the water lines and the valves and all that stuff, but it's very inaccurate. A few years ago, I bought a Trimble R2 surveying instrument, and we can tie those in like within a couple inches of where they're actually located. So part of this flushing stuff that we're going to start doing is pulling the manholes off, jetting the lines, inspecting the manholes, getting a shot on the surface, of that elevation of the lid, getting a measurement down to the bottom of it so we know what the flow line is. It's going to be great for planning too, because when people come and they want to build something, we can say, well, we have a sewer line, this is the elevation that it is at this manhole, and the elevation at this manhole, and you could, figure out if that's going to suit your needs or not. But it also comes into play with capital improvement projects because I like fact-based, reasoning behind what we do. So anytime I come to you guys with a street project or a water project or a sewer project, it's not just something a lot of people complained about. I have evidence to prove that that's why we need to do this project first versus another project. So that's kind of my goal over the next year, is make sure that I get better evidence for you guys to support the needs that we have as a city.
So the system, just to kind of restate, making sure I understand what you're saying, the system and this sort of interface with GIS and these tools that you bought help you to understand capacity of the infrastructure system, as well as maybe efficiency or things that might need to be looked at or improved or
Yeah,
repaired.
there's ways we can insert notes in there, pictures, stuff like that. So if we have a water leak, we could take a picture of it, pinpoint where the leak is and log it, in that system, and then pull up a map that shows, hey, this is everywhere we had a sewer backup, this is everywhere we had a water leak, whatever. And it helps us identify those problematic areas that are continuous. So I use Thomas Drive as the example. We have a leak on Thomas Drive. We just fixed a leak last week on Thomas Drive. It's constantly a leak after leak on Thomas Drive. It's going to be one of the ones that I want to replace the water line on first, because it's just so problematic. And but having that hard data for you guys to be able to say, hey, look, I've been keeping track of this. I know what's going on in the city. This is why I support this idea, or why I don't support whatever idea. And, that way we could try to make the best choices as a team to make the city better tomorrow.
Great, thank you.
Two questions. One, and I just assume that this is in all departments, the insurance cost has gone up 50%. Did you bid it?
No, we don't.
Why?
We have continually had our insurance through the municipal league, is who we do our insurance through. We do our health insurance through them. We do our property insurance through them. And we also do our vehicle insurance through them. This was a cost that all insurances have been going up. This was a cost that went up about $250 per employee. And also our family plans went up also.
This is a 50% increase. That's what this
On
is
some
showing
of them
right
it
here.
was,
And I
yeah.
assume that it's like that for the fire department and all. To me, that those kind of, I know the rates went up because they went up on my properties as well, and my health and all, but not that much. And is it not worth looking into? We used to insure through outside insurers before we went to municipal league. And would it not be wise to investigate that again?
We can, if that's something that the council wishes us to do, we can do that. We have found in previous looks at things that with the combined buying power of the municipal league, it's been able to afford us lower interest rates than we could go out and shop on our own. But if that's something that the council would like for us to do, it's something we can do.
That's the whole reason we went municipal league, because it was cheaper at the time. And it may still be, but I would be.
Probably is.
I can't say that it is, because a 50% increase is huge, huge. And I think it should be, looked at.
Workers' comp went down. Not much, but it went down.
And so that's one. And I think that,
Where are you saying that it went up 50%?
huh?
Where are you showing that it went up 50%?
Employee health insurance and protection. It went up from,
What
Which,
What page you on?
this is water department.
which page?
That's on page 26.
Okay, so our mid-year budget, what we had, what our budget for 2025 is around $19,000. That's what it's going to cost us through the end of the year. The 2026 budget is $29,650 is what we're estimating for those water employees. So it went up about $10,000.
That's 50%. I mean, that's, and if it's that much in that department, I mean, it's probably going to be the same in the police
It went up
across
in
the
all
board, I would think,
departments.
for all employees in that same bracket. So that's enough that I think it justifies, you know, at least having somebody out there look at it, independent agencies look at it, if they're willing to bid it. They used to. That's pretty big, 50%. So that's one. And then the second thing I wanted to ask was about the projected roundabout. Has money set aside, and we may have asked this before, I just don't recall. Has money been set aside? Is it in the budget for the infrastructure changes that have to be made whenever we start that work, and that will probably happen this year, yes or no?
Mayor, do you know the answer to that?
Well, we do have it set aside. I don't know where it's at, but yes. We've set it aside last year for the utility improvements.
Yes.
Yes.
But wouldn't that carry over into this budget? I mean, you just don't leave it in last year's and just write it off or ignore it. It still has to be projected into this budget.
It has not been put into the budget because we do not have any hard costs on what it is going to be to move those utilities. And it has just been the practice that we don't put things in the budget until we know what they're going to cost. So there is no line item in here right now for that, just like there's not a line item for the $6 million that we're going to spend, because we haven't got that money either.
Well, I understand that, but we understand that in a general way that we're going to replace water lines and sewer lines, and is the gas company going to make us pay for any of their line changes that they would have to make?
No,
Any of the underground power, which I don't think there is
no.
there, but I don't know if the gas company would.
I don't know about the gas company. I don't know. And they haven't done any work out in that area at this point, have they?
No, none of the utilities have started relocating. just
No,
yet.
I know they haven't
Talking
started
about the
yet.
regular gas company.
And I don't know how extreme ours is going to have to be.
And I don't know if they even
But-
have gas out there.
There is,
done.
yeah, there is gas line out there. We just don't know what it's going to take yet because the RDOT just kind of finalized their right-of-way plan, so we're working with the.
I know you
Philippines.
don't know what it's going to take, but you can have a pretty good idea of, you know, footages and things like that you can make some generalization in estimates on that, whether it's going to be $200,000 or it's going to be $600,000. I mean, you know, you can make those kind of projections pretty easily. I would, you know, whether the highway department has provided that for us or not, but I would think you could. You got to have a general idea with the drawings that you receive from them, where and you know where your existing lines are, what you're going to have to do as far as changing them. So I would think we'd try to be ahead of that game.
Well, we're getting the engineers
Almost got
involved
$1 million
to relocate them right now. And so we really don't have any idea, Terry, at this point. We had a general concept of what the cost was 2 or 3 years ago. Now, what that is today, I don't know. We haven't updated that or asked the highway department for that.
You mean for our part?
For our part.
For the relocation?
For our portion of the relocation, correct.
Well, we had to pay all the relocation, if I recall.
We pay the relocation,
Yeah.
correct.
Do you recall what that amount was a few years ago?
I want to say 300,000.
Well, it'll be double now.
I think that's right.
It'll be double now.
But we've got $1 million nearly in the street fund, in the bank right now, so we're not using all, that's not all in the budget. So there's some reserves there.
Well, I think it would be prudent on our part to be figuring that stuff out now instead of waiting till the last minute and surprise us with an emergency deal that, hey, we got to have this and we have no idea about it. I would like to have, you know, it may not have to be in the budget right now, but it's probably going to need to be in a mid-year because we're going to start you know, I know that they're getting closer to trying to get the properties purchased.
Terry, whatever if the result comes up, and for when we come up with what the utilities are, and we come up with that figure, we'll present it to the council because it's not in the budget. So obviously, we'd have to include it in the mid-year budget. I think what Michael's saying, and we've never had it in our budget, and so.
Right, we've never had it in the budget, but we need to, and I'm not saying it has to be.
We've been anticipating the costs coming in. We have the money there. We just haven't allocated it formally into a budget. Like Harry said, that we've got money in the street department, we've got money in some other funds, that we've got the money to cover it.
So what you're telling me is if you don't care what it's going to cost us, then I don't need to care either, because we got money to cover it.
I didn't say that
right?
we don't need to care. I'm saying we don't know what it is. So we need to figure out, exactly where we are, but we can't go in and just, it's not going to do us any good to plug $500,000 into the budget when we don't know, it's not in the budget yet. We don't know what it is. I do care very much what it is, as I think we all should be, as stewards of the money. Absolutely.
I don't want us to get caught with our pants down. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I agree with you, Terry, and I don't think we are. This is very much on top of everybody's mind, and especially with finance and with the street department. So I don't think we're trying to hide or catch anybody with the pants down. I don't know how you want to handle. I'm depending on our finance director to figure out the budget. He says we don't put it in the budget. So if you want to argue with Michael,
I'm not saying that it had to be in the budget right now.
Well, then that's what I was hearing you say was where in the budget is it? And Mike was saying it's not in the budget.
Okay, but it's getting close enough to that project's going to be coming into fruition where the construction's going to have to start. First thing will be utilities.
Absolutely.
And so.
But we got the money.
So I understand we got the money there, Harry.
We got the money in the.
We've got the engineer hired, and I don't know where he's at. I don't even think he started on the survey yet. And when we get that done, we'll get the estimate from him. Then we'll be able to know how much to put into.
Is that what he's working on?
That is what he's working on. That's what we've hired him for.
Okay. Now, see, I wasn't told that. If you'd have said that, then that would say, okay, that means you're starting to get a layout to figure out what it is we're going to have to do.
I think that's what.
I did say that, yeah. Philip Lewis, can you do the squealing thing, sir?
That's what Simon was just saying earlier, is we got the engineers working on this project.
Yeah, Philip Lewis Engineering is the one that's working on that project. RDOT just finalized their plans on that roundabout. We've turned that over to Philip Lewis Engineering. He's working up those numbers and everything for us. We don't have them yet.
Then
so.
that's what I wanted to hear. Mm-hmm. That's what I wanted to hear. So we can look at it towards mid-year if we need to. Okay. I'm happy.
Okay, that's all we were trying to say, is when we've come up with more information and more data, we'll be able to accurately come back to the council with that figure.
Okay.
We don't have a start date yet, do we?
No.
Not even a guess? I mean, next summer, maybe?
Next year is all I know.
Yeah, I heard the end of 2026, but also heard 2025. I heard different things, so they just keep pushing it back further and further.
I do know they're making contact with people to get their properties purchased.
Right.
Susan, did you have a question?
I thought I should just let it lie.
Okay. One other thing to take into consideration on that is this budget is considered our operating budget of what we have coming in revenues and what we have going out in our daily operations. If you will look on page 25 of 33 in the water sewer fund, last year we knew that Simon had, I believe this was a sludge project that we were working on. We knew that project was not going to be paid out of revenue that we were going to earn in 2025. It was going to be paid out of money that we currently had in accounts. If you look at 80, 22, 40, 40, that's the beginning fund balance. That's the money that we knew we were going to have to take out of our reserve funds and put into that project. We use this as a way of showing that we're using our reserves, but that it's not current revenue. So when we get to these projects and we get hard numbers on what these projects are, what we do is when we go in and put that expense in there, a line item for that expense so that I can start writing checks and charging them to that expense, and then we increase that beginning fund balance in regards to that project to show that we've taken that money out of our reserves to pay for that. So that's kind of how we handle it. That's how legislative audit wants us to handle it. So that's just kind of a little broader explanation on how we handle some of that stuff.
We don't have that in the water department.
Actually, so with the rate increases and the things that are going on, we're showing that the water department is going to be profitable. So we didn't have to infuse any additional money from our reserves into that.
Gotcha.
So if you don't see a beginning fund balance, then that means that that department is self-sustaining and it's paying for itself, and we're not having to pull any money out of reserves. Yes, ma'am.
So a couple things. So this is the operating budget. Do you have a strategic budget that when you look at things like this, you kind of start to guesstimate?
We don't have one per se. Whenever a project comes down, we look at it to see how much that project's going to cost, what it's going to be, and do we have the money for it, or where are we going to go to get the money? If there's a situation like the loan, the $6 million loan, what we'll end up doing is putting a line item for that revenue of that loan, and then we'll put an expense item for that to offset each other.
Yeah,
but we don't go in and say, unless we have hard numbers for something, we don't go in and say, well, we're going to put $50,000 aside for this and $150 for this, and if these things should come to fruition, we put in this operating budget, and then if we have any other, like we do have our fund. Simon's is a little different because it's water, but for the overall city, we have the Fund 12, which is on page 19, and these are our capital investments that we're anticipating paying for, like fire, police, the other departments.
So there is some planning in there.
Yes.
So let's say we had a consulting company come in for the sewer updates. At one point, that would have been strategic, right? And then we had to come up with a way to come up with that money. Then it becomes into operating, is what you're saying?
Yes.
So the same thing with the roundabout. We'll wait until we hear, and hopefully, does this person, because I would think we're paying the consultant, have a timeline of when events are going to happen so that we can, I kind of agree with Terry, we should have some kind of number, whether we're over or under, but some starting point or baseline.
I have a meeting with Philip Lewis later this week. We have a TAP grant that I'm wanting to apply for some sidewalks on 62, and I'll be talking with him about that as well at that time.
Okay.
And
good.
I can get you guys an update at a later time.
Because, it's funny, I heard the end of 2025, I heard the end of 2026. It doesn't give you a lot of warm and fuzzies to be able to plan and for city council to be able to approve. So it is a little concerning that we don't have more info.
When we started this project, I think the plans were at 95%. When we first reached out to Philip Lewis, and then RDOT promptly pulled it back to 60%, and it sat there at 60% for a long time, and then they finally came back with a 100% plan. So now I think we're in the right page. RDOT's still having to do their legal stuff by procuring property and all that kind of stuff, and they have to go through that portion of it. We can't even do anything with our utilities till they get what they need. So we're kind of in a holding pattern as far as that's concerned.
And I'm sure you have roadblocks that, I'm not saying it's all you, Simon, but, if you're paying a consulting company, they can maybe help push the agenda a little bit. And one other question with reserves, when you're talking about reserves, like you were comparing to water, does the reserves come out of general fund, or does it come out of the water budget, or their waters? Yeah, his department.
Water department is an enterprise fund, meaning it's self-sustaining, and so the money that comes into it stays in it. If we do have to pull money out of other funds, like if you have some of the utilities and stuff, they'll go through the street fund. A lot of that will go through the street fund because, you know, it also has money in its accounts too. And the other thing to keep in mind is this, and to me, this is a living document. It's a working document. It can change at any time. We can update it through as many times throughout the year as we need to. We're not, I mean, we have to have it passed by the 31st of January. Other than that, we can revise it at any time that we feel necessary. We don't have to wait till mid-year. We don't have to wait till the end of the year to do that.
Totally
We can do
agree.
it whenever we need it. And the reason that is because, you know, we're crystal balling what's going to happen in 2026. We have some good ideas of things that are going to happen, but we don't know for sure. We can, you know, there could be delays. We could have another pandemic. We could have a lot of things that could happen. And so what you try to do is you try to bake the budget with as much realistic information that you have, and then we can change it as we go along. And the only thing I don't like doing is putting in arbitrary numbers that we don't know for sure are going to actually happen or not happen. I like for us to have a pretty good solid number so that we aren't caught with our pants down or anything like that. So that's kind of the reason why I wait until we know for sure. But we can amend this budget at any time.
That's why we pass it with a resolution. It's easier that way.
I have a couple more questions. Just, and maybe these are Simon or Michael. The wastewater treatment plant chemical increase in price, I think maybe you addressed that last week. Is that?
No, that's actually going to be him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we purchase chemicals in bulk.
Right.
And they fluctuate just like our gas prices do. They go up and down and all over the place. So we're trying to do the crystal ball and try to figure out what's going to happen over the next year. We don't know. But based off the projection from this year, we try to predict what next year is going to be to the best of our ability.
So you anticipate that prices for these chemicals are going to increase?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Okay. And could you talk to us about capital expenditures?
Yeah.
For 26?
Yeah, Rachel. So our capital expenditures in the street department, we're looking at purchasing a new F550 truck with a plow and spreader on it, kind of like the one we already have in fleet. That would replace the 2004 model F450 that we have. We are going to buy some road barricades for the downtown district when we do road closures for events. They're crash-proof barriers to where we don't have to worry about people driving out into the crowds and causing mass casualty events. And then I think I have one pickup truck in there, another F-150 four-wheel drive. And I have in the water sewer department, I believe it's just the hydro excavation trailer.
What is that?
It's pretty much a pressure washer and a vacuum where you pressure wash the dirt and it sucks it out with the vacuum. The reason we need that piece of equipment is we have a lot of utility conflicts. We're an old city, and a lot of times when we have a water leak or a sewer issue, we have to wait because we have a utility conflict. It's a way of digging that's not, how they call it, non-invasive or hazardous to other utilities.
The gas company's been using it all over town when they're doing the new lines.
That's pretty much what we do right now is I have to contract Barrows to come out or get somebody with Black Hills Energy out with theirs to try to do that kind of work for us.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. I had another question. I'm almost scared to bring this up, but in here, maintenance sidewalks, there's $80,000 that was budgeted for 2025. It looks like we haven't used anywhere near $80,000. And then we've got $80,000 budgeted for 2026.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, I have a couple of questions about that. One is, why haven't we used that money yet? Are we saving that money? And what happens to the amount over what we've spent for 2025 is that the same money that goes into 26, or is that available to try to use maybe, because I'm looking at, obviously, I have a vision for visioning for the city, and I'm looking for money that we could possibly reallocate for planning and visioning, and wondering
So
if that's...
my three funds are all restricted. So streets can't be used anywhere else, water can't be used anywhere else, sewer can't be used anywhere else. They would remain within those funds. So the $80,000 that I budgeted for was over by House Spring, that wooden boardwalk, to replace all that. I just haven't had time to get that done. I've been kind of tied up with a lot of other things with the sewer plant issues and stuff to get that going. So we carried that over to next year to try to get that done. So that's why you see that over in next year's budget. Now, as far as like, we're not going to lose the money stays within the street department, and we can't transfer that money to planning department to do visioning plans or anything like that.
That's not necessarily what I'm talking about, but...
But, yeah.
On the street department, if you will, on page 16, you'll see at the top at 10-00-4503, grant state aid, $80,000. And then on page 17, 10-00-5591, state grant expense, $80,000. That's for your
That's
sidewalk.
different. Yeah, that's a
for the
different deal.
sidewalk up
Yeah.
at
Hold on, they're talking over each other, so...
Sorry. The $80,000 at 10-00-4503, that's revenue, versus the $80,000 at 10-00-5591, excuse me, straight street grant expenses, the $80,000 for the sidewalks up by the funeral home.
Yeah, that's correct. So we have an $80,000 federal grant to do sidewalk from the funeral home over to the community center, and that's why that money is in there. Now, I have a separate line item that's sidewalks. So I'm sorry, I was confused. I thought you were talking about that. But that is for that area, and then the money that I have inside the sidewalk fund is to take care of that area over there by House Spring, that wooden boardwalk.
Is
That
that,
$80,000 is a TAP grant that we have been approved for, am I correct?
Yes.
We've been approved for, but we have not taken advantage of it yet. It was approved in 2025, and I guess the work's going to be done in 2026.
McClellan Engineering is working on the plans. I had a meeting with them about 2 weeks ago on that project. So we're having to do some changes because of right-of-way and ADA compliance. So we're having to modify a few things for state approval before we go out.
so that's funeral home to the community center, not from the motel back to the parking lot?
That portion
Later.
is for that section. Now, when I come back to council with the whole thing, I'm going to ask council to take some street funds to add to connect it onto Main Street. We don't have a grant for that section, but I intend on having that section done as part of this project.
Okay.
Because that, in my opinion, that should have been done back in '22. Instead of cutting it out, they should have at least done that section, but for whatever reason it was cut. It needs to be done now. Things aren't getting cheaper, they're only getting more expensive, so I'd just like to go ahead and knock that out when we get that. So what we have McClellan working on is that TAP grant section from the funeral home to the community center, and then also from the Matterhorn onto Main Street.
And that is the money that's coming from the TAP grant?
A portion.
Portion.
A portion of it?
Yeah.
Okay. And the 5507 is what?
That's the 5507, I believe, is the sidewalk you were talking about that you have $80,000 in for to fix.
Yeah, that's for that wooden boardwalk that's up by the House Spring that comes down the hill. It's on top of the wall. Magnolia, and it's very unsafe, so I'd like to get that taken care of sooner rather than later.
Replacing the boardwalk with sidewalk, or replacing it with
No,
boardwalk?
we're probably going to do it with engineered wood instead, so I'll have to get a carpenter in here, tear out what's there, and then put engineered wood. That way we don't have to keep replacing boards and working on it all the time.
What's engineered wood?
It's a synthetic wood where they use like sawdust and epoxy and make wood. You can buy it for your decks or whatever for your house, and has a little bit of texture to it and stuff like that. So
Okay.
it just doesn't rot out like regular wood,
I've
treated wood.
heard it called that before, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So do we have any other questions about the water, sewer, or the streets?
Not me.
No? Okay. All right. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If we want to go back to the top of the budget, I'll go over a few things here. I'm starting on page 2. Quarter of the way down at 01004031, you'll see that we're projecting a slight increase in our sales tax. A lot of that has to do with just inflation. We're kind of figuring some inflation rates in there, kind of keeping it pretty steady with what this year is. We're going to hit our number for this year, so we're pretty confident with that number. We have, as you can tell by the side, the increases and the decreases. We increase some a little, decrease some a little. We didn't make any huge increases, anything here. So if you have any questions about any of those, we can talk about that. Not a lot of expenses. On page 3 of 33, last time we had some questions about that we had a $50,000 grant in planning. That was a CLG, I hope I said that right, grant for historic preservation. So it doesn't really fall into planning, so we put it into our 01, our non-departmental, and you'll see the corresponding account on the next page of 01005754 of that expense. So we put the revenue coming in and the expense going out. We are, you can kind of see that our expenses are not on page 4. There's not anything that's really huge change in differences, except for something that maybe is new. Then we get to our individual departments. On the mayor's salary, you'll see some of that has decreased. That's because we've kind of changed some people around and moved who whose department budget they fall under. So that went down a little bit. Otherwise, his expenses are pretty much the same. Not a big change. My department is next. There's not a lot of changes there. We did add some employees in my department. So that's with the annual increases and with the extra employees, that's the increase there.
Could you go over the city clerk, how you figure that budget?
Yep, I should. I do, yeah. So the next one is the police, which we'll skip that one for now if we want to ask Billy any questions. Municipal court, we did have some changes in this one a little bit. There's been a little bit of change in how they're breaking up some of the revenue that we have from that and some of the expenses that we have. So there were a little bit of changes, but nothing drastic. Fire and EMS, I've got his reports. We can talk about that in a minute. Next is the building department. Not really hardly any change there, just slight increases in salaries, reduction of some expenses, increases of some expenses. And then page 13, this is the city clerk. So after this is, when I sent you the updated budget that we sent to you on Sunday, there were three major things that changed within the budget. One was the grant for Cassie's department, the changing of the clerk's salary, and an added capital expense for fire, which we'll go over in a minute. But on the salaries, what I did was on the $12,000 that y'all approved for the city clerk, and then I figured about a $20 an hour. I wasn't sure. I kind of talked to the mayor about it. Probably a $20 an hour position for the deputy clerk. So that's $41,600 annually for the deputy clerk, $12,000 for the city clerk, for a total of $53,600 in salaries. Then the corresponding numbers on it have to do with, since this is now a city employee, that's a full-time employee, you have to add the insurance on there, the full insurance. So there's some insurance costs, and then everything else we pretty much left. I made little adjustments on it, but pretty much left everything else the same as the previous year.
Thank you.
Aren't we right now, aren't we just using an existing employee?
Yes, but her salary will change from being charged to the mayor's department, it'll be charged over to the city clerk's department.
So it comes out of the mayor's department.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is that reflected in here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The mayor's salary, you'll see, that's on,
Page 5.
page 5. Okay, so you'll see his salaries decreased. Kim was on part-time, he had another part-time employee. So Kim moves over to the city clerk's department, and then his employee that was part-time now goes full-time.
So that's the 25,000 reduction.
We took the gardener, we were paying the new gardener out of the mayor's budget for 25. We moved that to streets, so there was the reduction of that, and I think that's it. So back to page 14, we have Department 17, which is the planning. This is the one where I removed the $50,000 out of. So that makes her overall budget just a little bit of change, not a whole lot from last year. Cemetery, there wasn't really any increase except for the annual raises in that. So in 2025, our budget for 01 was $5.9 million. For 26, it's 6.2. Our expenditures were 5.8 in 2025 and 6.2 in 2026. So in 2025, 01 was at a positive number of 70,000, and in 26, it's at a positive number of 9,000.
There's the summary. And there's the summary, right?
We can go ahead and talk about the fire department if you would like to. Or I guess we could, yeah. The fire department is on page 10. You'll see increases in salaries, which are typical increases. Laffey, our insurance went up from $100,000 to $127,000. Payroll taxes went up. Workman's comp insurance went down a little bit. Other items were pretty stale.
Hey, Michael?
Yes, sir.
I noticed all the workers' comp went down, all the part.
So what we have worked really hard on that. Last year, we got stung with a really high workman's comp number because we had had so many claims. And so we have worked with the state, and we have done programs, we have done training, we've done a lot of things that they've asked us to do, and we've had less claims this year. So they reduced, you have a cost and then you have a multiplying factor. And so we were able to reduce that multiplying factor and get it down just a little bit. Hopefully, we're going to do it even more. Jerry thought our fees were going to be a lot less than what they were. So he asked for a review of it, and they're currently reviewing it. This is based on the bill we have right now. But hopefully we're going to get that down even more. It is under review because our representative that we have been working with, he felt like we would have a larger deduction than what we received. So he's putting it back through his to see if we can get a bigger reduction. So we have worked really hard on that.
In the health department, health insurance department, in all departments, I know when I had insurance on all my employees, if there was a claim, my insurance went up. So could that explain some of what's going on?
Yes, and you know, we spent quite a bit of money last year in 2024, or was it, I guess it, well, 2024, 2025. We bought the new cots for the ambulances, which are an auto load. We spent quite a bit of money on those. That's helped a lot. We are trying to do a lot more training on how to lift, how to handle those situations. And so that has helped. The fact that our claims have gone down has helped us. So, but yeah, that's something that we've worked really hard on. All right, does anybody have any questions about we'll come back to the police. I kind of would like to breeze through some of the rest of this so we can kind of get through it. 10, we've already talked about.
Well, going back to the fire department, you want to hit the, what they have on capital?
I'm going to get to that when
Later?
we get to that
Okay.
count. Okay. So on page 18, this is LAFI. These are standard calculations that we have based upon what is paid in and what is paid out. So that's not a lot there. Page 19, this is your general fund capital. These are the capital expenditures that we are that are being proposed for the city to purchase this year. It's basically the fire and EMS. They are asking for, we'll start with the rescue tools. He's asking for $39,000 for the rescue tools. What he is, and Terry, you may have to help me out on this because he's wrote me kind of summaries, but they had budgeted in capital expenditures for new reels and hoses for our extrication tools. They currently have 2 sets of extrication tools. Both sets are from the mid-90s. He was budgeting about $12,000 for repairs to those. He feels like that we're just kind of putting a Band-Aid on something that could be a problem going down the road. So he's asking for $40,000 to replace 1 set of those tools. It would give a new set of rescue tools that eliminates the need altogether of reels and hoses. The tools are electric and self-contained and require much less maintenance than our current sets. This would allow them to sell one of the current sets to recover some of the costs. He just doesn't feel like, he feels like if he spends the $12,000, he's just kind of throwing good money after bad. And so he's asking to replace those tools. And the bid is, this one bid here is $38,000 to replace those.
I assume that's the jaws of life that they're talking about because they're hydraulic
Yes,
right now is what they are. And
yeah. He said, yeah. The other thing that he's asking for is $45,000 to, for stair chairs. He says that he can't even tell how old ours are. His estimation is that they're between 15 and 20 years old. We currently have 3, but 1 is inoperable. He's asking for 2 of the new generation stair chairs. They are powered and use the same battery as our cots. The fact that they are powered makes them safer for the patients and for the provider. They have a track system that can take 600-pound patient down or up stairways or embankments. This significantly reduces the chance of injury to the provider from pushing, pulling, injuries that are common in his industry, and it's safer for the patient. He says that, that's about it. He said that he was going to be buying the new equipment from Stryker. It's the same company that he purchased the, it says, it noted in all my Stryker quotes, I've deducted the $12,000 6-year service agreement. I do feel this cost is a bit excessive for what we get out of it. When buying new equipment from Stryker, it does come with a warranty of 1 year, and we rarely see major problems within the first 6 years. The cost of the chairs is $44,097, and that's for 2. The chairs are about $18,000 a piece. Then the battery chargers are $1,600, and the power cord's $40.
Tariffs.
Yep. And then the last thing that he is asking for is approximately a couple of years ago, we did a refurb on one of our ambulances. We found out then it's a long process to get a new ambulance. And so he says that approximately 4 years ago, we started the process of refurbishing our ambulances. They were originally built in 2011. Due to chassis shortages, that project was not completed until 2023. If he goes to, we finally got the ambulance rehabbed, and now he's wanting to rehab the second ambulance. If he orders the chassis in 2026, which will cost about $115,000, he has to pay for it in 26, but it probably won't come in until the end of 26, first of 2027. Then they would do the box remount, which is going to be about another $150,000, $160,000. It's a total of about $319,000 to purchase the chassis and to remount the box, to redo the box. So he is wanting to start it now so that you have the purchase of the chassis now in 26, then they can get the ambulance rehabbed in 27. He's afraid if he waits until 27 to buy the chassis, then it would be 28 to get the ambulance done, and he feels like that our other ambulance is not safe enough to last that long.
We're talking cabin chassis, right?
It is for, he wants to purchase the International brand chassis, cabin chassis, yeah, $115,500.
International.
The current lead time for the project completion is 15 months. And also, he said that it will help us if we start now, it'll help with any increases in the future cost. It's a Dodge chassis. No, International, I'm sorry, International brand chassis. He is, in the past, he's previously bought the Dodge chassis, but he said, we have previously preferred the Dodge chassis, but with the imposed tariffs, that chassis is significantly more expensive as they are produced in Mexico. The International is the most part made in the United States and had a minimal tariff increase in comparison to the other chassis manufacturers.
Stellantis shut everything down in the States.
Do what?
Stellantis, the company that owns Dodge, they shut everything down in the States.
So that is the capital increases in capital expenditures that he's asking for in the fire department.
Michael? And Mayor, would it be possible for like the capital expenditures to get the department heads to maybe prioritize their asks? So, I mean, obviously, if we can afford to do everything, that's great. My concern in looking at the budget is that our expenses are outpacing our revenues. And I'd love to have a conversation about what we do about that. But let's say, worst case scenario, we don't feel like we can fund all of the requests. It would be nice to know what priorities are for all the department heads in their request.
Right. On this ambulance, I had asked him that, was it a need or a want? He had said that right now, it's kind of a hard situation because it's a want, and if we start the process now, it'll be done by the time we're probably going to need it. What he's afraid of is if we wait on starting the process, by the time because it takes so long to get this done, that by the time we get to that, then, you know, we're going to have needed it before then. Because the ambulance that they use as the call-out backup, is that what he calls it? Is a 2011 also. That's the one we refurbished. We had two 2011s, and we refurbished one of them, and now the other ambulance is the 2011. So.
That's helpful to know. I guess I would also wonder with regard to like the stair chairs and things like that. Are these things that get used really often? I mean, we always want those equipment pieces in place just in case, but again, if we can't fund everything, And what's the
Terry
useful
might be
life of
able to-
those things? Yeah.
Terry might be able to talk about the stair chairs. That's out of my purview.
They're out all the time. Both of them.
They're out as in they're inoperational?
Yeah, an ambulance goes on every call. You know, it fires, car wrecks, and a lot of times two, because they need the personnel. And then that way they can be working, and if something happens, then they can separate from that incident and go to another. And then we've also got a third out at the station. And I don't know if that's, as far as I know, that's always manned, that we always have that. That's just a requirement that we have, is to have that third out ready. So, yeah, they get used. I mean, I hate it, but, you know, they get used for everything. It's just because that's what they respond in. So, I mean, if they go to lunch, they're in the ambulance, you know, they don't take their own cars to lunch. You know, if they go eat someplace or if they have some function, they go in that ambulance so they can roll if they have to.
So with regard to the capital expenditures listed here, are you aware of what would be priority over another?
Well, I mean, I can't speak specifically for the condition of the Jaws of Life. You know, I know everybody wants to modernize and
Sure.
and do better. The ambulances, I think, would probably be at the top of the list. The chairs, you know, the ones that they have are more difficult to use and all, but they can still operate with them, and the same with the Jaws of Life too. So I would think the ambulance would be number one, but it's a long-term deal. So I don't know. The others between them are under 100. So less than
Remember, we're
30%.
just operating, starting from zero. We're operating, the budget is based on the income next year, not any money that we have in the bank now.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of spending a lot of money in the bank.
Pardon?
I'm not in favor of spending a lot of money in the bank. I'd like to see our revenue lines grow and we be conservative in our
That's
expenditure.
what I'm saying
Yeah,
is
rather than
We
rely
have,
on
we're
what's in the
not
bank.
spending any of the money in the bank in this budget,
I understand what you're saying.
okay? The budget is revenue, based on the revenue of next year. Now, if revenue doesn't keep up with our budget, then we have to change the budget. But that's how it's based. It's not that close because we've got several $1 million in the bank.
That can go.
I appreciate your viewpoint.
Huh?
I appreciate your viewpoint.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so on page 20, this is our debt service fund. This is the bond payment. We have sales tax revenue that comes in to cover this. So sales tax and a little bit of interest on that account covers that. Page 21, this is our, has to do with the district court. It's pretty self-sustaining there. What comes in goes out. Court automation fund, pretty much the same there, 22, page 22. Then 70, the fireman's pension fund. It's pretty much investments, pay for it and cover it. And then you're back to water. So that pretty much kind of covers, well, and then we have transit. We can go through transits real quick. Transits is kind of a unique. He starts on page 30. He starts on page 29. The thing about transit is a lot of his expenses are reimbursed. He was at an 80-20. I think he's back to a 50-50 match from the Arkansas Highway Department. They pay 80-20 on some of his capital expenditures that he has. He has revenue and expenses. He has some money that he is putting into it. You'll see with the beginning fund balance to cover some of the capital expenditures that he has. His capital expenditures this year are normal preventative maintenance on his building. They're on page 32. Preventative maintenance on his building, preventative maintenance on his vehicles, and then the purchase of 3 new trolleys. One trolley is an 80-20 match. One trolley is he's paying for 100%, and then the other trolley is an 80-20 match, where we pay for 20% of it and the state pays for 80% of it.
So he receives no city funding?
No. He
He's the only transit in the state of Arkansas that receives no city funds.
He doesn't receive any taxes or any fund from
He's
the,
self-supporting.
What'd you say, the first part of that, Butch?
He's the only transit department in the state of Arkansas that does not receive any funds from the city.
Okay.
And we probably got the best transit of any city our size.
We're probably the only city of 2,000, 2,100 people that have a transit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good deal.
Okay.
and so we have the police chief here. If you would like to ask him any questions about the police department budget,
What page is that on?
that is on page, it starts on page 7. We have salary increases consistent with the city, health insurance increases. Everything else is little give and take that me and the police chief seesawed over.
Michael.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
So I see that for overtime, it's been decreased, which, well done, because that's usually an area where a lot of departments tend to lose it in, is in overtime. So kudos to you for managing that.
If they can stay fully staffed, their overtime is great. A lot of theirs, and the fire departments also, comes from sicknesses, illnesses, and they need to keep their staff, whether there's whatever. So a lot of times when he stays fully staffed, when he's able to stay fully staffed, his overtime does go down. So.
Is it hard, to keep it fully staffed?
We've had a pretty good turnover, but it's all for different reasons. Family issues, it's all confidential as to why somebody leaves, but it's all for different reasons. We can't really point to one thing that says that's why we have turnover, but there have been a lot of applicants too, so we're filling the slots pretty quick. So it's just part of the job.
It's just hard to replace somebody, the cost of replacing an employee with a new employee.
It's definitely harder to replace someone than it is to keep them. Yeah, for sure.
So the police department doesn't have any revenue at all?
Parking, if you count that.
How about traffic tickets?
I don't know how that's,
So,
Court?
under your under the umbrella of Department 01, which is your non-departmental, that is all the revenue that comes in from the city. Then you break out all your departments of police, fire, mayor, finance, planning, court. All of that falls out underneath that revenue. So if you go back up to page 2, you'll see that he has ESPD fines and fees. There's other HIDA reimbursement, that's for some of his overtime that they work. He has STEP, he has different things that fall within these revenue categories that are shown for the entire city, and then he's expensed out. His department does not make enough money to self-sustain itself.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. McClung?
Squad cars.
We've updated enough for right now that we could probably get by for maybe another year. We still have some of those old Chargers that they're running. We've tried to kind of phase those out because when the crankshafts go out on those, it's a $6,000 hit every single time.
Sure.
And we still have a couple of them on the road. If those last, we're fine for a while. Durangos are holding out real well. Guys are taking care of their units. It's working out good right now. So
Glad to hear it.
the upgrade thing worked out. That's, if you'll notice on my maintenance, vehicle maintenance is way down, especially over the last 2 years.
Yes, I saw it.
We've cut that down about half. So
That's great. That's good.
How do you keep up with the maintenance schedule on them?
well, we have a local person that does it for us, and they put a sticker on there, and when it gets low, the guys are faithful to get the oil
The
changed.
guys are paying attention to the
Yes,
sticker?
Absolutely, the
Okay.
mileage and everything, yeah. Yeah, they like the new vehicles, so they're taking care of them
All right. How are the new ones working out?
really well. They get around good, they're all four-wheel drive, they're durable, they run good, we've had no problems.
I know they use a lot of gas.
Well, yeah, we're up a little bit on fuel. Actually, I don't think we're up over the last 2 years. I think we've actually decreased.
I was just looking at fuel economy on rigs like that, and golly,
You know, compared to the Chargers, they're not that bad.
no.
Yeah.
Are you looking to add a K-9 unit?
I'm sorry?
Your K-9 unit request?
Yes. So that is a maintenance budget. We have raised enough, well, we're on our way to raising enough to cover the initial cost. I got approval from the mayor and talked it over with Michael before we started the project to know that it would fit within this year's budget if we had to, but it looks like we're going to raise enough from local businesses and local citizens to cover the upfront costs.
Great.
Nice.
So
Good.
we have enough pledge now to cover it. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have enough in here for like training and fitness for your force?
Well, we talked about that. It was one of those areas that we would like to see it raised in the future, but currently, right now, we're okay with what it is. I mean, it's one of those kind of, like he said, give and take seesaw things. We didn't spend it this year. Maybe we won't spend it next year, but we have to. I wanted to mention we've taken the old building that's behind the fire department. It was an old public works building where they had an old rusty truck parked in there. We took all that out, cleaned all that out, and we put our own gym in there. And we bought some equipment out of last year's budget for that. There will be some pictures of that for the year-end review, and the guys are making good use of that. And a lot of the training that we're doing in-house. We have a lot of guys that are qualified to do the training, so we're not having to spend as much money on outside sources. There will be specialty things in that K-9 budget. There is there's training for that, but that was also covered in our donation fund. And then we're working on a possible drone project for next year. If we can get grants to pay for a drone, we've got guys training for that too right now. So
Okay.
a lot of that's covered. Some of that's free training, some of it we're paying for, but we're just doing the best we can with what we got.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I asked about the training, just the research that I've looked at. There's a huge correlation between adequate training and officer safety, so I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't an area that you were trying to.
No, actually, we've been doing really well with our jiu-jitsu training, and that really shows on our use of force has declined a lot, at least the use of force that does damage to people. And also, it makes the guys a lot more aware of what they're doing. And so that's really helped out a lot. That's going to continue. What we have are some in-house trainers now that are certified to do the training. And so maybe we won't have to spend as much on that next year. And I'm kind of revamping. We had a contract with a local trainer, and I'm kind of revamping how we pay him. I want to pay him for what we get instead of just having a cut rate that we pay him every month. And we're just revamping how we're training on that. It's still going to be certified. It's still going to be all above board and what's required, but we have options now with some of our new employees that are certified to train. We can do more in-house stuff. And I was planning on probably just delegating some of that money to the individuals that want to go take a class somewhere instead of just paying one person to do one thing once a month. They can have a month-long membership to a defensive tactics class that way of their choice. Permanent
Well done.
approval.
Yeah.
What is the HID TA wages?
That is we have 2 TFOs, task force officers, that work with Homeland Security, and they get paid their overtime that they do for Homeland Security, drug cases, child pornography, ICAC cases, a lot of stuff like that. Sergeant Jackson is one of our main child predator go-getters, and he's covered a lot of cases. They reimburse us for any overtime that he gets working those cases. And Assistant Chief Sevy's the other one.
Okay, thank you.
On those, you'll see them.
They also give us they also give us a vehicle reimbursement too, to pay for one vehicle that we buy every year, or not every year, but they give us enough to buy one every year out of that.
The one thing about those on that and on the step, Billy really has no idea of how to predict how much they're going to use that or how not they're going to use that. So what we do is it's the revenue and the expenditures cancel each other out. So whatever we feel like, he's going to charge to them that they're going to repay us for, then we put that into the expense, and then we have the revenue coming in so that they're a wash. Because on those, some years especially with STEP, on some of those we've used them a lot in a year, and then sometimes we haven't hardly used them. So they're really unpredictable to be able to, there's no tracking on those to kind of determine them.
Okay.
On the K-9,
Yes, sir.
are you training 2 handlers?
One for now.
Just one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to get 2, but it's an extra expense with the class, the equipment, everything that he has to have. I understand it'd be good to have a backup, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Okay.
Any more questions for Billy?
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
So are there any questions that have come up that you would like more clarification on, or that you would like for me to bring more information on? I have a couple of things already written down. Yes, sir.
So revenue on writing tickets and stuff, where is it listed here? Is
It
under-
is on page 2,
Right.
and it's number 01004042, ESPD fines and fees.
Okay. So that's all, traffic tickets, noise ordinance, tickets, things like that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I think it would be wise that, that we do our vote for this on the second meeting of January, and we have one more workshop that first meeting of January, and just to make sure we're, no surprises, pretty well fine-tuned. Does that sound?
Yep. Any
Up
of
to the
y'all?
council.
Yeah, we can make that decision in the meeting itself, but I think that would be smart.
And we can go ahead and schedule it tentatively for the
Yeah.
first meeting. You want to do a 4 o'clock meeting, or
It probably
5
wouldn't
o'clock.
hurt. I mean, I don't think it'll be that extensive, Butch, but I think it'd be better to allow the
Wouldn't
timers to
hurt.
not have it.
All right, we can do 4 o'clock on the first meeting in January.
Yeah.
The 12th.
Wouldn't hurt at all.
The 12th, is that what it is?
Okay.
We
Is there any other questions or anything,
helped a
anybody?
lot today.
I mean, these are, we hit the high point of the departments that we have on there, so.
And if y'all have any questions, please, email them to me or whatever, and I'll get with the department heads.
Likewise, anything shows up that you think is something we need to know about,
Definitely.
you know how to find
Yes.
us.
Did I miss the discussion on planning? Was there a discussion on planning budget?
No,
Have we received any requests from planning department?
no. Okay, do we have any more questions on the budget or anything? Okay. So I'd like to read a little statement here to y'all concerning our budget or concerning our finances and some stuff. As the director of finance, I have many things that I have to do. Some are expected and some are not. To me, one of the most important jobs of the director of finance is being responsible for the city's money. This is a job I take very seriously. Over the years, the city of Eureka Springs has been lucky to have great relationships with our area banks and have received the best of care and services from them. Recently, it was brought to my attention that some statements that I made in a previous budget meeting have been perceived as negative remarks about some of the services offered by CS Bank. CS Bank is one of the cities of Eureka Springs' most trusted partners, so I wanted to take a moment and address that. A few months ago, after much thought and consideration, the decision was made to move some of the city of Eureka Springs accounts to Equity Bank. Over the past couple of years, the city of Eureka Springs had started increasing our footprint with Equity Bank, and this step was a natural progression. Prior to the movement of accounts, the city of Eureka Springs had approximately 20 accounts with CS Bank. The decision was made to move approximately 11 of those accounts to Equity Bank. This is all laid out in the comparative bank balance report that is contained in the monthly budget packet if you're curious about what accounts we moved. For an organization the size of the city of Eureka Springs, this is a major undertaking. A lot of thought, planning, and coordination has to take place for this kind of move. This was not a decision I made lightly or for any other reason than what was the best financial decision for the city of Eureka Springs. When asked in budget meeting why I moved some of the city of Eureka Springs accounts, I gave a few reasons. One was the diversifying of the city of Eureka Springs accounts and having ready cash available in more than one bank. Thus, in no way was a negative reflection on the strength or of worries about CS Bank. Another thing that I mentioned in budget was that CS Bank did not offer positive pay on its business accounts. Since that time, I have been in contact with CS Bank, and that has been cleared up. CS Bank does offer positive pay for its business customers. I regret that this prior miscommunication between myself and CS Bank in any way caused a negative light on CS Bank, its services, or its staff. This new information, however, does not change my decision about moving accounts to Equity Bank. Diversifying the city of Eureka Springs accounts was an important move for the city of Eureka Springs. To show the results of this diversification, as of the end of business Friday, December 5th, 2025, the city of Eureka Springs had the following on deposits with each bank. CS Bank's ready cash was $2.5 million, CDs $565,000, for a total of $3.1 million. In Equity Bank, we had cash at $1.9 million, CDs of $270,000, for a total of $2.1 million in Equity Bank. Since becoming the Director of Finance, President Jason Tennant, Vice President Andrea Peterson, and Branch Manager Sarah Valines have provided great customer service to the City of Eureka Springs. The City of Eureka Springs values the relationship we have with CS Bank and hope it continues long into the future. Since becoming the Director of Finance, Market President Elizabeth Kelly, Treasury Management Officer AVP Christian Anderson, and the staff at Equity Bank have also provided great customer service to the City of Eureka Springs. The City of Eureka Springs values the relationship we have with Equity Bank and hope it continues long into the future. We as a city have many great banks in our town. And to all of our local banks, we do bid out our CDs out to all of our local banks, and I encourage you all to participate in that bidding process. In closing, I'd like to say to President Jason Tennant and staff of CS Bank, I publicly thank you for all you have done for the City of Eureka Springs and commend you on your leadership of your exceptional bank. To Market President Elizabeth Kelly and staff at Equity Bank, I publicly thank you for all that you have done for the City of Eureka Springs and commend you on the leadership of your actionable bank. I look forward to working with all of you in the future. That's it.
All right, does anybody else have anything on our budget before we close our budget meeting? If not, let's adjourn our budget meeting and reconvene in about 4 to 5 minutes.